ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to WBE Season 3 Week 4 Heat of the Week. My name is Chris Kobain, and once again, I'll be taking you guys through all the coolest and most unique sets run by the WBE coaches this week. We got a pretty fun list this week that I personally enjoy a lot, complete with one of the more unlikely comebacks I think we've seen this season, and what personally might be my biggest heartbreak of the season so far. I'm not sure. The Empoleon thing from a few weeks ago, pretty close, but this was a pretty bad one. Of course, as per usual for you guys, I will not be able to get every Pokemon on the list that I wanted to this week. I know there was 3 or 4 other Pokemon on that was actually submitted to me that I wanted to get on the list, but for one reason or another, they just didn't quite make it. So, of course, I'll be missing some. So if you guys have some heat that you thought should have made the list, or did not for whatever reason you thought you should make it, go ahead and post it in the comment section below. I'd love to read it. You guys should enjoy this list. There's quite a few people in the comments I've noticed who make fun of my pronunciation of certain Pokemon, so you'll probably get a little bit of that today, because there's a couple of Pokemon that I'll be talking about this week that I'm not actually sure of the pronunciation on, so I'm just guessing, honestly. So we'll get to those when we get to them, but without further ado, let us jump in to number 6 this week, and we are leading off with Mr. Talent and the New York Marauders going up against A-Drive and the Minnesota Vikavolt. His fully special Nasty Plot Ambipom. Super sick set here. So, of course, he's running that Technician ability with that Hipouton Berry, which is, of course, just essentially going to be boosting his health by 50%. No big deal there. 252 HP, the 4 defense, 28 special attack, 60 special defense, and 164 speed. I'm not exactly sure, but I would hazard a guess that that was probably EV to be faster than Lycanroc. With a Timid Nature, running Round, Thunderbolt, Hidden Power, Grass, and Nasty Plot. That is a move set right there. So, Round, obviously, just a nice stab move, 60 base power, so going to take advantage of that Technician ability of his. Thunderbolt was being run for Dan's Skarmory, and Hidden Power Grass was being run for Dan's Gastrodon with that Nasty Plot. Super cool set. A lot of people don't actually realize how specially offensive Ambipom can actually be. Of course, his special attack much lower than his regular attack, which is why you don't see this very often, but this makes the list simply because it beats Skarmory, which is more than enough. And Ambipom is definitely not something you normally see beating a Skarmory. But thanks to this set, he was actually able to, Talent was actually able to predict Dan switching into Skarmory, set up a Nasty Plot as he went, hit it with the Thunderbolt, and relegate Skarmory to just a Spike setter. That's all he got to do the whole match. Normally very, very annoying. Roost and rocks and spikes and fog, and he does respectable damage with Brave Bird, all that stuff. But this week, Dan was only able to lay out a layer of spikes before going down to the Ambipom because of Talent's special set. So super cool there. Really well played, and he made a really good prediction to get him actually set up. Unfortunately, right after Skarmory died, it was time for Ambipom to go because he lost to a Accelerock Lycanroc after taking a chunk of toxic damage, of course. While he set up, he kept taking that progressive damage and was in range for a Accelerock afterwards. Really, though, if it wasn't for the Accelerock, he had a pretty good matchup going in there. He's out faster than most of Dan's Mon, aside from Scarfers, of course. And once he had that Nasty Plot set up, he had a pretty good matchup going if it wasn't for the priority. So good on Dan to stop that. But either way, good looking set from Talent. It makes number 6 this week. Going into number 5, we had one that was pretty adamant. It was pretty adamant he got on the list. MV here was pretty adamant that I get this on the list. So it's here. Registeel. From the San Diego Chim Chargers going up against Sacred and his Chicago Bouffalance. This is a Registeel that, in Envy's own words, is pretending to be a Gliscor. So, clear body, of course, leftovers, 252 HP, 4 attack, 140 defense, 100 special defense, and 12 speed. I'm not exactly sure. He didn't tell me exactly what the EV spread so specific was for. And then that Impish Nature, Iron Head Protect, Toxic Substitute. Now, I don't feel any shame in personally telling you guys that I'm not a huge fan of stally sets like this with the sub, the toxic attack, that kind of stuff, because they're kind of easy to run, of course, but they do the job. You can't blame coaches for building them because they work, and that is certainly the case this week, because this Registeel absolutely floored. It was untouchable. It was easily Envy's MVP of this week. It just did everything he needed to do. He walled around Rhyperior, Mienshao, and Arcanine with ease. 3 Pokemon with stab, super effective attacks on him. Running Toxic, running Protect. He forced Mienshao to scarf itself into a high jump kick against the Protect, doing damage to himself on 2 separate occasions. That happened. He ended up taking out Mega Aerodactyl with an Iron Head halfway through the match. And then he ended up actually forcing Mienshao to kill itself with Protect into that high jump kick. Had the sub set up, high jump kick, broke it as the Iron Head, then he Protect. Of course, the Mienshao was locked into at that point, high jump kicked, and the Protect then went down. So, now this set isn't like Omega super duper heat, of course. It's something Registeel does a lot, stuff like this, but it's definitely different than what you would normally see from a Registeel typically, and normally you'd be seeing more stuff like Seismic Toss on this set, of course. But it's still a cool set, still a good set, and it did a lot of work this week. And just because of the sheer amount of unkillable it was this week, I felt like it had to get on the list. He said he wanted it to be top 3, and I debated it for a little bit, but there are so many super duper sick sets this week that I didn't think that I was, personally, I didn't feel comfortable putting it in top 3, but it still definitely deserved a spot on the list. And he makes number 5. Going into number 4, one of my personal favorite single move techs of the season, and it's going to be hard to outdo this one, honestly, is Mewtwo fan Nate and his New York Noibats running Hydreigon against Fan Attack this week, and this set was super duper cool. If you haven't seen this match, you gotta go give it a look, because this was awesome. I'll Levitate, of course, with the leftovers, 252 HP, 60 special attack, 196 speed. He told me that the EV specifically, or so that he was able to switch into a Banded Entei, which I don't believe Fan even brought, but of course, something you need to run. But the big deal here, his moveset, that Timid Nature, of course, Draco Meteor, Throat Chop, Defog, and Roost. So if you don't know what Throat Chop does, it's a little bit of a niche move. You don't see it very often. Throat Chop is a dark type attack that if it lands, the Pokemon that got hit by it can no longer use sound-based attacks. And that is super brilliant from Nate this week, as he was going up against Faint, who was running Mega Gardevoir. So once Mega Gardevoir gets hit with that Throat Chop, Hyper Voice completely shut down instantly. It's Fairy Stab gone, which is super duper good. It also stops on Fan Attack's team. It also stops Clanging Scales, Kommo-o, and Hyper Voice Meloetta as well, which of course Meloetta is super specially defensive. Throat Chop is physical, does a little more damage, and stops that Hyper Voice from kicking in, and Relic Song for what that's worth. So that alone is enough to get him on Heat of the Week for me, just because of how good that is, but it really, really goes in because it actually beat Mega Gardevoir 1v1, which is awesome. Nate was able to correctly predict a Mega Gardevoir switch in, hit that Throat Chop, shut down Gardevoir's Hyper Voice immediately. He already had seen it run Wish in the past, so he had a feeling it wasn't running that Focus Blast to be able to fight him. So without Hyper Voice to do any damage, Gardevoir was rendered completely useless against Hydreigon, and on the next turn, another Throat Chop took out Gardevoir, no problem. And just on the sheer fact that Gardevoir got in to Hydreigon, still alive, not even scarfed Hydreigon, and still lost the fight. That's just super awesome. And a very, very, very smart tech from Nate this week. Easily Heat. And I loved it. I actually complimented him personally about it. One of my favorite plays of all of the entire season so far, for sure. Super awesome to see Dry take advantage of that move and beat Gardevoir 1v1. Awesome. Okay. He also hit Regirock with Draco. He ended up dying to Entei at the end of the game. There you go. Going into number 3. Are we 3? Yeah, 3. I lost track for a second. Going into number 3 this week, we've got Tapu Bulu from Invivicolor and his South Texas Sableye. Okay, I pronounced it Sableye last time. You all made fun of me. Sableye. There you go. Going up against Duncan and the Free State Torracats. And I love this set as well. So, of course, he's going Grassy Surge, obviously, with the leftovers. 252 HP, 36 attack, 188 defense, 4 special defense, and 28 speed. Look at these EV spreads, man. They are all over the place with that impish nature. And he's running Sub, Disable, Horn Leech, and Nature's Madness. So that sub-disable set, super, super interesting. Of course, Bulu either goes one of two ways normally. He's either mega, mega offensive with like a choice band, or he's that more defensive set, which this one clearly is. But that sub-disable is something you definitely very, very rarely see. Vivid told me that he was running the sub-disable set to scout and stuff poison attacks, which is awesome. You're able to sub on the poison attack and the disable it next turn to keep himself safe. He said that he had found his Bulu getting obliterated by random poison attacks very often this season, which he has. So he wanted a way to quell that. And that was his solution, which is very, very smart as far as I'm concerned. And it also allows him to beat Choice Locked. And for the love of God, I've never heard this name pronounced. Choice Locked Blacephalon. Please, if I said that wrong, you're allowed to make fun of me. I don't actually know. When it first came out, I was saying Blacephalon, but that sounds wrong. So I think it's Blacephalon. Could be wrong, but I think that's what it is. But the disable is also able to stop that as well. And it was he was able to 1v1 a Rockwanid without worrying about poison jab because of his ability to sub and then disable potential poison jabs. Nature's Madness, obviously, just we still on Tapu Koko. I think it was last week. Just easy to do half damage to to certain stuff you can't otherwise touch, which is exactly what happened. He was able to Nature's Madness both Jirachi and Vikavolt this week to put them to half health. And then the final thing Bulu really did this week was he absolutely ate an Ice Punch from Mega T-Tar. He was sitting at like 55, maybe 60%. Ice Punch took him down to about 10%, and he obliterated T-Tar back with that Horn Leech to get the kill. Ended up surviving the entire game as well, so well done to Vivid there. Also, have to bring this up, super big shout out to Burn Up Moltres. I was really debating what, because I don't like putting the same team on twice. I don't want to do that if I don't have to, giving one team 2 slots in a week. So I was really back and forth between this and the Burn Up Moltres. Bulu ended up doing a little more work, so I decided to put that on there. But Burn Up, super smart. It's a fire type move that takes away your fire type when you use it. So it was also used to combat the Araquanid so that he could take away his fire typing while doing damage and then no longer be weak to water. And then he said he had Roost on the Earth, on the Moltres, which would make him typeless, I believe, after he roosted after the burn up. So I wanted to give that a shout out because he deserved it. But Bulu ends up doing more work. Super cool set though. Deserved the spot. Moltres would have gotten on it if Bulu wasn't on it. And with that, we jump into the last two guys, and I'm not going to lie to you, I spent the majority of the week really trying to come up with which one of these I wanted to be number one, honestly. It took me a while to really decide which of these needed to be number one and which one of them got to be number two. And I based it off of one special thing that I'll tell you guys here in a second, but let's go ahead and jump into number two itself, and that is going to be, and for the love of God, again, I don't know how this thing is pronounced. I'm going to say it like Elliot was saying in his video. He was pronouncing it Stakataka. So if it's wrong, it's your fault, Elliot, okay? I don't know if it's supposed to be Stakataka, but it's Stakatak. You know, it just sounds right. So Stakataka it is. And this guy was the MVP of the week, probably. In my opinion, all the sets ran this week, this guy was the one true MVP of week 4 of the WBE, and if you haven't seen this battle, dude, you gotta go check it out. It was awesome. So he's running that Beast Boost, of course, with the weakness policy, 228 HP, 4 attack, 172 special defense, 4 special attack, and 100 special defense with that Brave Nature, which is plus attack, minus speed with that Trick Room set, Stone Edge and Gyro Ball, and then, and then Magnet Rise to finish it off. Now, Trick Room Stakataka is not super crazy in its own right. It's not, it's something that Stakataka does do a fairly decent chunk of the time. But a Magnet Rise is super unique. I super like that. But I think the real reason for me that this was so close to home, I really debated giving it number one, was just his performance, which I thought was just so cool to me. So, it ended up being 1v3. It was Stakataka versus Klefki, I forgot his name for a second, T-Tar, and Mega Charizard X. He got paralyzed by the Klefki after setting up Trick Room and still was able to clutch out the win against those 3 Pokemon with a couple of Gyro Balls on the Klefki, a Gyro Ball to finish off the T-Tar, and then a Stone Edge that he broke through paralysis and hit to end up defeating the Charizard X and winning the game for Elliot. It was such a sick end to the game. And he needed it. He just needed to be on the list to me for this. The reason I ended up deciding to make him number 2 was twofold. One, he never actually popped the weakness policy. And two, and I think more importantly, Magnet Rise was never activated. Magnet Rise was really the most heat part of this set. Of course, take him off the ground so he can no longer get hit by ground attacks, stuff like that. Very, everyone knows what that does, but he never actually ended up activating it this week. There was never really a need to do so. After he'd set up Trick Room against the Klefki, I keep wanting to call it Jirachi for some reason. When he set up against the Klefki, there was really no reason to activate Magnet Rise anymore, even though both Zardex and T-Tar both get Earthquake, obviously. He was down to 1 Pokemon, and he was faster than them because of Trick Room, didn't want to waste the turns. But this endgame was so freaking clutch. He broke through Paralysis 4 times, I think. Both all the Gyro Balls on the Stone Edge. And then, of course, on the last turn to Trick Room, broke through that Paralysis, hit that Stone Edge on Zardex to give Elliot the win. What a clutch performance. MVP of the week, like I said. Definitely deserves a spot on the list. He almost was number 1. And the reason he was almost number 1 over the actual number 1 is simply because the actual number 1 didn't do as much work as Stack Attack did, just straight up. But he didn't do as much work because he got absolutely screwed. And that Pokemon, if you've seen the match, you might know what it is. It's Patters, and it's Hipouton from the Newcastle Nidokings going up against Pokemon and his New Orleans Pelipers. I told you guys at the opening video this was complete with one of my biggest disappointments of the season. Maybe the biggest. This was it. It's hard to say whether it was the Empoleon getting smacked by Scarf Salamence or if it was this. This hurt. This one hurt. So Hipouton here, run by Patters here, is going Sandstream with that Moronga Berry. That berry allows you to boost your special defense by 1 stage if you are hit by any special attack at all. And of course, he's got that big specially defensive nature already with that max HP, 68 defense, and 188 special defense with that careful nature, which is going to be plus special defense minus special attack. Complete with Earthquake, Ice Fang, Slack Off, and Curse, which is the whole reason that he's set up Hipouton super sick. Of course, Curse is going to lower your speed and then boost both your attack and your defense by 1 stage. And then that plus the Moronga Berry and that special defense really means that once this Hipouton sets up a couple of curses, get hits by a special attack, he is untouchable. He's got that fat defense boost, he's got that fat special defense boost, and he's able to set up his attack and go to town. And that is what happened. Hipouton was able to go up against a Magneton who was lacking Hidden Power Ice, and he was able to eat Flash Cannons. Flash Cannon was the one that actually popped his Moronga Berry to get that special defense boost. And then he set up curses all the way. I think he got to +5 on his curses while eating Flash Cannons from the Magneton and slack-offing that back up to max HP. He got lucky. He never got hit by a special defense drop, which is very good for him, obviously. But he paid for that good RNG tenfold. So once he was able to set up to +5 against the Magneton, he ended up killing it with Ice Fang because it kept using Magnet Rise, so he didn't want to risk Earthquake. So he bopped it with that Ice Fang, got it out of the way. In comes Mega Diancie, one of the most potent special attackers we got. He absolutely tanked. He just ate. I believe the first was a critical hit Moonblast, and it didn't matter. It just straight didn't matter. He was able to slack off again against the Mega Diancie, get himself back up healthy, and then take that out as well. And after that, it's looking like a sweep. It's looking like Hipouton has set up successfully and has got this game going. He's going up against the only thing left that Pokemon really had to stop him. It was Slowbro. He had done all the calcs. Scald wasn't doing that much. No big deal. All he's really got to do is hope for no burn, which of course is asking for it when you're going up against Scald. We all knew that. But no burn. Just a crit that one-shot him. And it hurts. It actually hurts me physically. When I was watching that battle for the first time, and I'm like, I'm so excited because I'm like, that's right. Hipouton's making the list this week, no question. He's going to sweep. He's got this. He just needs to not get burnt. And then you watch that HP bar just fly. You knew as soon as he got hit, it was doing too much damage. It was a critical hit. Take him out in one shot. Hipouton ends up going down. And painful. It's just the way Pokemon goes sometimes, man. I think this is a bigger heartbreak than Empoleon because it was really RNG. The Empoleon thing from a couple weeks ago was really just, it wasn't RNG, it was just Scarf Salamence, you know, just unfortunate that the opponent was running that. But this week there was nothing he could do about it. He played it really well. He waited for the right time to set it up. He got it up. Of course, he could have waited till Slowbro was down, but there was really no other way to get it down like this. He had set himself up enough so that Earthquake had a chance to one-shot Slowbro straight up. And then the game just ruined it, which is the way it goes. Anyone who's played this game for any amount of time really knows that RNG really rules it. This game is completely skill-based. No one questioned it, all right? But that's it. That's the list for this week, guys. Thank you all for watching as per usual. I appreciate it. This list was super, super fun. I enjoyed this week thoroughly. We missed out on quite a few good stuff. So again, if there was something on the list that didn't, or if there was something, excuse me, not on the list you thought should have made it, go ahead and leave a comment down below. And you can also leave a comment lambasting my horrible pronunciation of Pokemon names, whether it was Blacephalon or Stakataka or whichever one I said that you thought I was dumb. Go ahead and make fun of me. It's fine. It doesn't bother me. Go ahead. But again, appreciate you guys watching. And hopefully next week we get something as good as this week. Because I think this is my favorite overall week so far of the season. Just top to bottom, I thought it was really, really cool. And I will see you guys for week 5, alright? Alright, peace out, guys.